want to talk about pain and what I've learned about pain in the bereavement process through my own experiences. The first time I went through bereavement was 20 years ago plus, when my late wife passed away, and I was in my 30s, and the pain came at me just wave after wave after wave, overwhelming, unbearable. There were moments when I physically couldn't breathe. Wasn't just psychological. It was physical. It was genuine. I was gasping for breath. I remember, and it's amazing kind of how this works with human beings. When I first heard that my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and it was stage 4 cancer. It was not just a little lump somewhere. It was throughout her lungs, and I didn't eat. I didn't eat for, I remember the exact timings, but let's say 36 hours. I could not eat. I just couldn't eat. I couldn't put something in my mouth if I wanted to. And it was over Yom Kippur, and it came to the meal, to the Suda Mafsekes, where it's like a mitzvah you're meant to eat. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it. And so I had a bowl of soup before Yom Kippur, having not eaten in 36 hours. And I didn't even notice Yom Kippur. I wasn't hungry after Yom Kippur either. It was quite an amazing thing how the emotional experience affects us physically. And so when my wife passed away, it was just wave after wave after wave of pain and overwhelm. And I think that, part of the idea of Shiva is just kind of a week away from the world, just to kind of catch yourself, catch your bearings. Just I couldn't have gone into the world if I wanted to during those 7 days. I didn't know if I was coming or going. And so it subsided a little bit after the show, a little bit. Don't get me wrong. It went from being absolutely and utterly unbearable and overwhelming to being utterly unbearable and overwhelming, but not absolutely utterly. But here's what I've kind of learned about pain and my experience of it over the years, and it's an insight that I had somewhere along the way, with kind of going through the process with my wife, and it's served me really well as I've gone through that process with my parents. And that is that what I came to see for myself was that, how to put this? Pain. Okay, let me put it this way, but I'm going to say more about it. The pain is my friend. Because imagine for a moment that I went through, that my wife passed away and I didn't feel anything. Not that I was numb. Numb's a different thing. Numb is in certain situations, it's too much pain. The pain's so much that you just can't experience it. I don't mean that. I just mean it didn't bother me. I wasn't upset. That to me would be the worst of all experiences. That would just be the worst nightmare of all. Somebody I loved deeply passed away. I didn't even care. It didn't even bother me. That at the other extreme is the worst case scenario. So I started to kind of reflect on that, and that kind of occurred to me, and I started to realize that when a person is in this world and here and alive, there's many avenues and means through which we can express our love for them. You can go out for a walk with somebody, you can sit in silence with somebody, you can stare into their eyes, you can hold their hand, you can have a conversation. There's so many different possibilities. You can go out for dinner with them, watch a film with them and have a conversation afterwards. There's love is everywhere almost, and the avenues for love are numerous. But when they die and when they pass away from this world, what I discovered for myself was the only real avenue for experiencing that love for that person became pain. And to me, that pain was my love, and my love was in that pain. And I started to almost relish the pain. I mean, like in some masochistic sense, but I started to just value it and embrace it, because that's where my love lay. And I wanted that love to stay, and I wanted that love to be a part of my life, and the way for it to be there was through that pain. And so I as time went on, and this is, I think, part of the normal mourning process. People can get stuck as well. Of course, that can happen, but I think the normative mourning process is that the pain does subside. I got a little concerned that where's my love going? And what I realized was that, and this is where I'm up to now, this is 20 years later. I kind of realized that I believe the mourning process is a process of that pain finding its appropriate place in your heart, settling down, and it being there, but it not ruling your life, and it having its right place and its rightful place and its appropriate place and its precious place in your heart. But being able to get on with your life with it there. And so what I found is, if I think of my late wife and my experience of that, is that I would say this happens to me once a year now, maybe twice a year, is that I'll be walking down the street and I'll suddenly find myself crying. And I'll suddenly find myself in a deep feeling of sadness. And I know what it is because I've kind of learned what it is. It's me remembering my late wife. And I'm married again, and I got 4 more kids, and I'm in a totally different place in life. And that's completely behind me. But at the same time, it's not, because it's still there in my heart, and I want it there in my heart. And when those moments occur, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful because it means that precious and special and beautiful human being that was so much a part of my life for 12 years is still there. Is still there, and she has her rightful place in my heart. And so those tears are tears of pain and tears of sorrow, but they're also tears of joy. And I take those moments to feel it, to let it be, to let it kind of wash through me. And it's normally a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then it's gone. And then I kind of carry on with life. And that's what I found, is that's the place of pain. That's the place of pain. So pain, sometimes I think people feel like they want to get rid of the pain. You want to move on from the pain. You don't like the pain because pain by nature is uncomfortable for us and not something that we human beings kind of look for in our lives. But what I feel is the most appropriate and the most helpful way of kind of working with it is to look to allow it to be and allow it to do its thing. And it does its thing. And let me tell you, it really does its thing. You don't even know to allow it. It'll do it whether you like it or not. But to be open to it, to allow it to come and to be there and to sit there, and it subsides. It really does. I think people fight it. Maybe it doesn't, because it kind of hasn't been allowed to do what it needs to do. But I think you let it be, and you let it sit there, and you let it do its thing. It's there's a guiding force behind us in the world that kind of allows it to happen in the way that it needs to happen. And I think when you allow that guiding force to do its thing, it washes through you, and over time it finds its place, and that pain stays in your heart, but it stays in your heart in the way that it needs to and in the way that it should, and you can get on with your life, and that person's still there very much in your heart, but your life carries on without them being there in kind of in the physical, doesn't have a physical place in your life anymore. So that to me is what I've learned about pain in the mourning process, and I hope that it's helpful, and I hope that it can be meaningful for you, and that you can kind of take something out of it that I always believe that everybody's different, and in the same way as you see a face, um, everybody's face is different, but at the same time, 97% of the features are the same. We've all got eyelashes, we've all got eyebrows, we've all got eyes, and they're all kind of similarly spaced apart in the face, and they're all situated in the same kind of places in the face. And yet we look so different. I think the same is true with these type of things, is that there's so much that we share in common, and therefore shared experiences and kind of wisdom that somebody's learned can be really valuable for somebody else. But at the same time, you got to kind of learn what you learn from it, and you got to take what you take from it. So don't just write down what I've written and say, oh, okay, there we go. That's kind of the word of God for me. It's certainly not the word of God, but I'm hoping that there'll be valuable insights in there that you might be able to take and find meaning in the way that you need to do so.